let's talk about The Flash. No, not the movie that just became one of the biggest financial flops in the history of the comic book genre, but rather, where's The Flash going from here? You know, a lot of questions have been circling around the last year, or especially since James Gunn and Peter Safran took over DC, which is who's going to be Flash in the brand new DCU. The DCEU is gone. Well, we still got a couple of films to come with Blue Beetle and Aquaman, but the new DCU is coming. Who's going to be Flash? Some people speculated it was going to be Ezra Miller. Of course, we've insisted it was never going to be Ezra Miller again moving forward. But who's it going to be? One of the big names that gets brought up a lot is that of somebody who already knows how to wear the red spandex, Grant Gustin, who, of course, is the actor who got introduced as Barry Allen the Flash in Stephen Amell's Green Arrow, and then got his own spin-off series, The Flash, that ran 9 seasons. 9 seasons. Most shows don't make it to 4. And this show lasted 9 seasons. So a lot of people saying Grant Gustin is the obvious choice. Now, here's the thing. We as movie fans, and we're all guilty of it. I've done it. You've done it. Your mother's done it.
Ray's done it.
Ray's done it.
I've done it multiple times.
We really
Maybe
like
this morning too.
I'm not even going to go into that conversation.
What are you talking about?
We like to connect dots where there are no connections. It's like, wait a minute. I just saw that Steven Spielberg had the letter S on a shirt he was wearing. That means he's going to direct a Star Wars movie. As silly as that sounds, we've all heard worse. Well, a new big buzz started going around that Grant Gustin was going to be the new Flash for James Gunn's DCU Flash, because some people noticed, and I'm being serious, that Grant Gustin and James Gunn follow each other on what was known as Twitter and is now called X. They follow each other on that social media. Therefore, it created this new wave of buzz that Grant Gustin is going to be Flash again. Actually, somebody asked him, not on Twitter, but rather on Threads, which is where James Gunn likes to live now, but asked, one of the users wrote, "Hey, James, it seems you're following Grant Gustin on Instagram. Is it true? Is it true that he's joining your DCU reboot as Barry Allen / The Flash again? Or is he playing a different comic book character? Please, thank you very much." Listen, even in the question, it wasn't just a question as, is he playing? Because if he's not Flash, he's playing another DC character. So is he playing Flash again? Or is he playing a different comic book character? Please, thank you very much. To which James Gunn replied, very simply, Grant was following me and I like him as an actor. So we chatted a bit and I followed him back. Very simple. What's the name of that law that the most simple answer is usually the correct one? There's a name for it. Not Murphy's Law, but there's some sort of word for that. But yeah, it's a truism. He just said, look, guys, I'm going to point out a fact to you. Now, I have recently shut down my X/Twitter account, so I'm not on there anymore. But I got news to you. Ready? This is true. James Gunn follows me on Twitter, and I follow him back.
Oh, shit, are you going to be the
Payday.
Flash?
I'm going to be in the DCU.
Flash!
Oh, this is
We all got
great.
jobs at DC.
That's
It's
very
got to be
exciting.
true.
We all got jobs at
Right?
I'm
DC.
very pleased.
If you had a cell phone on you, caught me at the gym this
Man.
morning on the treadmill, can only be one answer. I must be the new Flash, which is, of course, ludicrous and crazy. Just like, now, it's not crazy to wonder. He had played Flash before, but look, James Gunn is in the process of removing things that are old and creating things that are new. And he is not creating DC, the CW universe. It would be a step backwards to get. And listen, Grant Gustin, who I like very much, was a great iteration of the Flash for a CW Flash. He was great in that. But that's what it was. This is a new Flash. This is something completely different. And I'd hate to bring numbers and facts into this, but the reality is nobody really wants to see Grant Gustin as Flash. If you want numerical proof of that, well, look at the ratings for Flash. Now, they started off strong in season 1, where it averaged, and for CW, these are pretty good numbers. They averaged 4.62 million viewers per episode. But you're going to notice something here. every year, the viewership did not go up like it did in Game of Thrones or other shows like that. The viewership every year over year continued to drop to where it was less than 25% of what its original audience was. So in year one, had 4.6 million viewers per episode. In year two, they lost about 400,000 viewers per week at 4.25 million. In year three, they dropped about 750,000 viewers per week and went down to 3,500,000 viewers per episode. The following year dropped another 500,000 to 3.04 million. The next year, over another 500,000 to 2.43. By season 6, they were down to 2.23. By season 7, they were 1.58. By season 8, 1.04. And by the finale, the final season, 0.86. That means in the final 2 seasons of Flash, more people would watch John Campea videos in a week than tuned in to watch The Flash. And that is not an example of how many people watch the John Campea YouTube channel. On the contrary, it's an example of how few people were watching The Flash. The reality is this: if people wanted to see that iteration of Flash, if people wanted to see Grant Gustin as Flash, and by the way, again, let me reemphasize, I loved him as CW's Flash. I really did. I think he's great. But if people were interested in it, they could have watched him for free playing Flash every week on TV for free. And more and more and more, less and less and less. And I'm not saying that was Grant Gustin's fault. Don't get me wrong. I'm not claiming that was exclusively Grant Gustin's fault. But again, if people really wanted to see Grant Gustin as Flash, they certainly didn't act like it by tuning in to watch him play the character every single week. So it would make no sense on 2 different fronts. On front number 1, why, if you're creating a brand new DCU, why would you go back and dig up, the CW Flash? As great as Grant is, and I can't wait to see what he does moving forward with his career. And the second thing is, if you were going to bring something over, wouldn't you go and grab something that was wildly popular to bring over? Like, if you really were going to go back and dig up something old, wouldn't you dig up something that was extremely popular, went out on top, all that kind of stuff? Again, instead of this, look again, season 1, 4.62 million viewers per episode. By season 9, 0.86. And it never did better than 4.62. It never got better. The numbers at any rate. So, so it totally makes sense that James Gunn would come out and say, look, he followed me on Twitter. I like him, so I followed him back. That's the end of it. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, BetterHelp. Getting to know yourself can be a lifelong process, especially because we're always growing and changing. Think about it. The person you were 5 years ago is not the exact person that you are today. Therapy is all about deepening your self-awareness and understanding, because sometimes we don't know what we want or why we react the way that we do until we talk things through. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who can take you on that journey of self-discovery from wherever you are. And guys, striving for better mental health is something we should all aspire to. I've talked about this before, but when somebody goes to the gym, we applaud them for getting out there to improve their physical health. Well, it's about time that we start looking at mental health the same way, not just by encouraging the people around us to look into therapy, but by also taking the step to take care of our own mental health as well. So listen, if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a short questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Campea today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Campea. Anyway, Chris, I mean, this discussion and debate and certain segment of the fan base wanting to see Grant Gustin, who I think is great, has been around for a while. Does this put it to bed, or could you conceivably see a path where we could end up with Grant Gustin as our Barry Allen in the DCU?
I think we could have Barry Allen played by Grant Gustin in the DCU in the same way we've seen other Flashes return for the CW when they became Jay Garrick and were multiverse people, right? I don't think right now at this time you are going to have Grant Gustin thrown into the DCU. He's hung up his tights. He's put away the spandex. He played it for several years. And I think the ship has sailed for him, too, being particularly interested in this.
Yeah.
And I know all of us actors, we always want to work, and we love getting paid for that work. And the DCU, I'm sure, is going to pay well once things start going back up again. But I don't see him coming back to this. I think he would want to play a different character within the DCU as well. Maybe play a villain, maybe do something else, just to stretch those muscles, you know? He's played the same character for about a decade. He's played this character for the entire time The Flash was being made as a feature film.
That's true.
So I'm sure he wants to do something else. He's a dad. He's got a family. I'm sure there are other things that he wants to tick off on the box, you know? And I just don't think that's the right move. That being said, though, the DCU right now seems a bit bonkers in what they are doing, what they're keeping, what they're shelving. So who's to say, honestly, you know, if we really are going to have this third Wonder Woman, if we really are going to continue to see Blue Beetle and maybe kind of cafeteria style pick and choose
Which I don't
some of
believe
these
we are
things.
going to continue to see Blue Beetle, to be honest.
I mean, it really, right now, it goes back to kind of the old regime of the reactionary views of this, is how I feel DC is approaching things right now. Well, we'll keep Blue Beetle if it does really well, which proof is going to be in the pudding there, right?
Yeah. Well, we all know it's not going to do well.
Because no one seems to care right now. I really
Yeah.
want that movie to do well.
What did they say the opening weekend projections are for Blue Beetle? Like 17 million or something?
Oh my gosh.
And I'm very
Yeesh.
much looking forward to seeing it, but it's not, no one's going to go see it. That's the problem.
Also, the simplest answer to something is Occam's razor. My coffee hadn't kicked in.
Thank you.
And I was like, what? Gillette. My brain just totally beach balled of death trying to figure that out.
Ray, I got to ask you this question. Honestly, truth answer here.
Come on, Ray.
Truth answer?
Truth answer.
I don't like
Truth
giving
Central.
those.
Have you ever sat down to watch an episode of CW's The Flash?
Ray.
Only if someone else was watching it. Like, let's say Ryan was watching it.
Right.
But I never, there's one guy on there where every time I watched it, I was like, I can't watch this. It's that guy with the long hair. Like, because he was always whiny about something.
Oh, Cisco.
Yeah, why?
He
is
was
that-
one of my favorite
I
characters.
know.
love Cisco.
And then even Ryan said, dude, he's really cool, but like every episode he seemed to watch, he was crying about something. And I was like, stop crying.
That was my problem with Foggy on the Netflix series.
And that's my
Just
problem with
whiny
Yeah, a
all
lot
the
of people
time.
said that
That was
too.
my problem with any CW character, even Superman and Lois, the little son that cries every time
He
something
doesn't
happens.
like emo.
Yeah,
stuff.
but
You know,
no, I never watched it. I mean, I'm sure that actor, he was very charming whenever I did watch an episode.
I mean, I'd go on a date
but
with
I
him,
don't
but, you know.
know. Well, actually, who knows what James Gunn is going to do with
all
it.
right, let me throw this out there. There is, by the way, for everybody, at least one episode of The Flash you should watch. Look up the one that has a villain called Block. It's Aaron Cummings'
Yes.
episode.
Oh,
By the
yeah.
way, big congrats from all of us to Aaron and her husband Tom, who have just welcomed their second child into the world. They're living down in New York now. And I don't think they've announced the name of the child or anything, so we won't say anything here. But anyway,
Grant.
yeah, go watch Aaron's episode of The Flash. Other than that, guys, I just don't see why. What's the business case for making Grant Gustin your Flash? Although, Chris, you did bring up something interesting. You said, oh, maybe you could play somebody else in it. I wouldn't be opposed to that.
No, he's a great actor.
Like if Grant Gustin was our new, a different iteration, a younger Perry White. Like if they introduced something like that, or I don't know, he's the new Steve Trevor, or he's whatever. I'm open for Grant Gustin appearing in the DCU. I just don't think he can be Flash.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks a lot for checking out our video. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And also, we do a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice.